I think I finally got it right. I have an 8 foot tall bookshelf and it's on the top shelf rather than getting on my knees and putting it on my dresser. There was a so called self defense incident. We're going to talk about it. Um, yeah. Now, there was an incident where there was a disabled person and an able bodied person that had a dispute over stolen valor. Now, for the first couple of minutes, I'm going to talk about what is stolen valor, okay? Forgive me, I have a bit of an allergy reaction. I have my allergies, so my voice is a little clogged. It's also hot as hell before I take my shirt off, okay? Now, stolen valor was originally initiated by George Bush Jr., and the complete law was ratified by Obama. Give him credit. Okay, many, many years ago, you literally had to wear the Medal of Honor in order to go to jail. That means I could actually say I have the Medal of Honor, and I could not get told off for it. I had to actually wear it. The Stolen Valor Act makes it a federal crime for you to, in any shape, way, or form, lie about a service record. That means you could legally be a service member and lie and still go to jail. Okay, you could say that I was in the Army and I attended a leadership class. I didn't. That's stolen valor right there. Tim Waltz is a master sergeant and he called himself Sergeant Major. He should go to prison. That's the way it is. Now, in order for you to accuse someone of stolen valor, you gotta know what you're talking about. And things are not always what they seem. Example, we have a gentleman alive today who legally wears an Army colonel's uniform and a Navy Medal of Honor. I spoke to that gentleman when his son passed away. Unfortunately. He was in the Navy in Vietnam and got the Medal of Honor and then became an Army colonel. Jack Lucas, who also got the Medal of Honor for the Marine Corps, legally wore the Navy Medal with an Army captain's uniform from 1962. So, other things. My cousin's husband got 2 Bronze Stars for 2 Vietnam deployments. He is supposed to wear the Bronze Star with an oak leaf, the metal apparatus on his ribbon. But he physically has 2 individual stars. You're supposed to have 1 Bronze Star with oak leaf cluster. He has 2 physical stars. I assume that because he got his first star with his first deployment, when he went back again, he left his medals home, which everyone does. No one brings their medals to deployment. And rather than have his mother mail his star from Yonkers to Vietnam and put an oak leaf cluster on it, they probably said, listen, just take a second Bronze Star. And he legally has 2 Bronze Stars individually. But he has the paperwork, the citations, the discharge papers. He is legal. All right, so there's a little iffy thing here and there. Now, when I got a book from Rob O'Neill for him, he called to thank me, and I said, do you know that big lawyer got this silver star in Okinawa? He said, I didn't know that. There were 2 first cousins at our school who were carpentry teachers. One was 1962 to 1989, the big guy, and one was 1965 to 1991. So they were at our old school and our new school, and they retired before my time. I met the big guy in 10th grade. He came back to visit for a few minutes. And I met the little guy in 11th grade. He came by because we ordered some lumber, and he ordered some lumber with us, and he took his lumber out of our stash and paid us back for it. The little guy was in Korea with the army. The big guy was at Okinawa with the army. He and I posted on our Facebook page, did anyone know that Big Lawyer got the Silver Star? He died in '01. I found out 20 years later on his obituary. The little guy's daughter is an alumnus. She said, yeah, I know. He got it for, they were ambushed and he was just throwing fucking hand grenades everywhere, killing everybody. Yeah, okay. I can't find him in any database. Okay. Doc Bradley, who got the Navy Cross at Iwo Jima and was the corpsman flag raiser, his own son didn't know about the cross after he died. Okay, so sometimes you don't know. Because a guy might have a medal, but he's not in a database. You know? Now, there was an idiot, this idiot, his claim to fame was a couple of years ago. He ran over some Trump supporters. Okay? So his mind is not exactly perfect. He is out and about and he sees a man who's twice his age in a wheelchair. And they're in I think Seattle at the dock. Colin Moore was talking about it. Now he sees the man in the wheelchair with a Navy patch. Okay? And he rips the patch off of the man and says, you're committing stolen valor. Now, how do you know that? If you told me that you were a Marine and you held 3 Navy crosses, I would punch you in the face. Because Roberts was killed at Okinawa, Carlson died in 46, and Lee died in 98, at 98 years old, of cancer, not old age. So, I know you're lying, because you're not a Marine with 3 Navy crosses unless you're dead. Okay, if you tell me you hold 2 medals of honor, I know you're lying. The last double recipient died in 1937. Okay? If you told me you got the Medal of Honor in Korea, you're lying, because the last Korean recipient is dead. Okay? But sometimes you honestly don't know. And there are things that are harder to catch than others. Okay? Like our teacher, the Silver Star recipient, who was not in the database. And I asked no less than 50 people, alumni, teachers, alumni that came back to teachers later, did you know that Big Lawyer got the Silver Star? And he was so modest. This guy got the Silver Star at the worst battle since World War I. Okinawa is the most violent battle since World War I. It still holds that record. And he got the Silver Star. And he was so modest, he never told anyone. Only his family knew. Okay? So sometimes you honestly don't know. Now, some guys are easier to spot than others. Okay? And there are guys that you want to just fucking punch these guys in the fucking face, okay? They got, the general's uniform. They got 5 Distinguished Service Crosses. They got the Medal of Honor. They got all these fucking, they got ribbons up. Okay, there are some guys that are just fucking assholes, and you know they're lying. But sometimes you honestly don't know. A guy in a wheelchair with a Navy patch, how do you know? So, our hero goes over and takes the patch off his body, physically. Here's the problem with that. The guy really was a Navy veteran. Now what's the problem? You touched someone without their permission which is an assault. But you took something from them, which is a robbery. So you robbed a disabled veteran. Now, the veteran himself was not very smart because he got angry. And let me tell you, a lot of veterans, if you falsely accuse them of stolen valor, they'll kick your ass. Especially if you're just some loser that never accomplished anything in your whole life, okay? So when you accuse someone of stolen valor, you better be sure, okay? You better be 100% sure, no questions asked. So now the Navy guy who's in a wheelchair, he's been robbed of his patch. He's really, really angry right now. He pulls out a knife and an airsoft pistol. Okay, and our hero opens up his book bag, fumbles for a real gun, and shoots him. He survives though. Now, here's the problem. The Navy veteran might not have been smart because he might have been reaching for the knife and airsoft pistol out of anger rather than fear. Okay? Because when you present a weapon, you're doing so out of fear, not anger. You're going to kill me, and I need to defend myself. Therefore, I grab a weapon. But you've insulted my honor and robbed me of my honor, literally, and I'm grabbing a weapon, which means I'm angry at you. But the question is, if you initiate the confrontation, you can't claim self-defense. Now, the other guy, I mean, you could argue that if he's brandishing a knife and a pistol, maybe you could run away. But then you could say, well, the pistol looks real, it's airsoft, but it looks real. He could shoot me with it, okay? But the problem is, you accused a man of stolen valor, and you were wrong. You then robbed him of his property, which means you were also wrong. So, even though he made a mistake by reaching for a knife out of anger, you started it. So, if you see someone that you think is committing stolen valor, unless you know exactly what you're talking about, stay the fuck out of it. Period. Okay? Period. Thank you.